Hello, everybody. Carl Rust here. Um, Here to talk to you about learning and education in light of our current circumstances with the COVID 19 pandemic. So, what is learning, and what should teachers, parents, do about it? And parents are finding themselves in the role of teachers a lot now. First of all, most of us went to school to learn. And we grew up thinking that schools are places that you go to learn, and that's where learning happens. Now that we don't have school, or at least kids aren't going to a school building, parents and caregivers, other caregivers and teachers may start to have a few questions. So, what is learning? What do teachers do at school all day? What do kids do at school all day? What, in an ideal world, what should teachers be doing all day, and what should kids be doing all day? And what do parents need to do about this? So to give you a little background, I spent 30 years as an educator, public school educator, teacher, administrator, and all-around troublemaker. And if you talk to anybody that was in one of my classes or worked with me at all, they will tell you that I questioned everything. And I'm still asking questions today. So I'll give you some answers to some questions that I've come up with after 30 years. And I hope if you're a parent or a teacher who's struggling with the current situation, that you will listen to what I have to say and share it with other people. Now I have to plug my book, Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn, How We Can Transform Schools and Reintroduce Natural Learning. If you want to know more about some of my ideas, you can get this book from Amazon. So let me just talk about some of these questions, but I'm going to do them kind of out of order because I want to finish with the big question, which is what is learning? So let's start with, what do teachers do at school all day? Listen, the life of a teacher is hard and they work hard. Most of them care about kids and they want to do the right thing. But they're caught in a system that limits what they can do. So they get to school early, look over their plans for the day, they make sure they have all their supplies, they have all the books, papers are copied, that they have their teacher's manuals all ready because they pretty much planned out everything that they're going to do. They spend a lot of time working it out, and they spend a lot of time planning almost every minute of the day. Then after a while the kids start to come in, the teacher makes sure the kids have breakfast, they get them started on morning work, they teach lessons, they walk around, they supervise, they kind of check out what's going on. They cajole kids if they're not following directions, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They mediate disputes. They regulate the whole day. They supervise recess, lunch sometimes. Then they do more talking, cajoling, mediating, till it's time to stop. They may get a chance to have a bite of lunch and maybe a little bit of time to make some plans. After school, they have meetings 2 or 3 days a week, and they're grading stacks of papers and tests. So that's basically, it's hard to put everybody in one category, but that's kind of what teachers do at school. What do kids do at school? So kids come in the morning, they get breakfast, they start doing paperwork. They're told, sit down, be quiet, work on your paper. Work on your own paper. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't look at your neighbor's paper. Sometimes they get to work in groups and talk to each other, but it's luck of the draw because it depends on who your teacher is. In some classes it happens a lot, in other classes it doesn't happen at all. They have a little choice though in what they do or how they do it. They don't get to choose subjects, topics, or work. A lot of that is determined by the state and federal government, the local administration, and whatever little room is left is pretty much decided by the teacher. Kids have very little say in it. Once a day, usually every day, they get a period of time they get to go to a special like music, art, phys ed, library, computer lab. Depends on where you live, what they do, different things. But those places, what happens in those places during that time is dependent upon who the teacher is there. Again, the kids get very little choice. Even if they're working with technology, if they have a tablet or a laptop, a lot of times it's paper pencil style assignments that have been determined by the teacher. Now, what is it that I think kids and teachers should be doing at school? So let me tell you what I think a school day should look like and could look like. And there are a few places, a few magical places around the world where it does look like this. So I know it can work. So the first thing that's different is the teacher doesn't make a lot of plans because they don't know what's going to happen. They might have some ideas to some things they want to try to do. They may have some things that they think the kids might be interested in doing because they've gained knowledge about the kids that they work with. They don't do things to kids. They do things with kids. A big difference there. And so you've got to start with what are the kids interested in doing. So at my perfect school, my ideal school, staff realizes they've studied the brain research that's out there, and they realize there's 3 conditions that have to be present for true learning to take place. First one is competence. So people need to feel like they have the skills necessary to complete a task. At least some of the skills. They may not have it totally mastered, but they have to have some of the background knowledge, some of the beginning skills. People really resist taking on challenges or tasks that they're pretty sure they're going to fail at. And I think you can relate to this. I mean, if I ask you to do a DNA test, I mean, I would have no idea where to start. Whereas I play guitar, and if you say, I want you to learn a song, I have a little bit of background knowledge. I know how to play guitar. I know how to find songs on the internet. I know the basic idea of how songs put together. So people need to be confident that they can do something. And the second condition is agency. So people really need to have the ability to control their learning. They need to decide what they're going to learn and when they're going to learn it. If it's going to be true learning. You can make people do things. At least you can make some people do some things some of the time. But that's not learning. That's coercion. That's slavery. People are not mules to be driven or computers to be programmed. They need to be able to feel like they're in control of their own learning. The third thing that needs to be present is relationship. So they have to feel like they're part of a community, that they're cared for, that they belong, that they're accepted. And those are the things that need to happen for true learning to take place. So I guess you understand how I feel about learning. I like to talk about natural learning because learning is natural. It happens all the time. You don't have to force people to learn. It happens everywhere all the time. If you're breathing, you're learning. Living is learning. Learning equals living. Living equals learning. It happens all the time. You don't need a school building to make it happen. And maybe you're seeing that now. So you have little moments when a person gets an idea, they get an inspiration, and they go with it, and they produce something amazing. And nobody could plan for it because we didn't even know it was a possibility. That's natural learning. So, if you don't plan for it, what do teachers and parents do? What should they be doing? So, should they be like making worksheets, copying tests, cajoling and threatening kids who don't do what they're supposed to do? Or should they create the environment that promotes the 3 conditions of learning? So how do you create an environment like that? So competence. Find out what kids are good at and build on their skills. allow them to gain self-knowledge of what they're good at and what they can do, and allow them to take some risks and take some chances. Competence is number one. 2 is agency. So they've got to be in the driver's seat as much as you can. And I realize everybody's not comfortable with this, but the baby steps are giving some choices. Would you like to do this, or like to do this? When would you like to do it? Now or later? Or do you have a better idea? What I used to say to kids a lot of times in class when they would come up and say, I don't really like this work. What do you suggest? What would you like to do? And relationship, of course, should be already present at home. It's not in every home, but it should be a pretty good relationship going on there. But please don't ruin your relationship by trying to force kids to do things they don't want to do. And I understand they have chores and they have other things that they're supposed to do. But think about it before you make it into a horrible thing. But the other thing is with schools, how do we make schools more of a place of community, more of a relational place, more of a place where kids feel valued? Very important. So I want to say relax, everybody. It'll be okay. If you don't do all the papers and all the busy work, it will be okay. Life will go on. It's not the end of the world. I think if we can learn anything during this period of time, some schoolwork that's not done is not the end of the world. And I think teachers and parents and kids, we can start realizing it's okay. It's not the end of the world if you don't finish something. So let the kids wear the pajamas, sing songs, do art, watch funny cat videos. It'll be okay. But talk to them, have conversations. They're still going to learn. Learning is natural. Read my book. Or there's an excellent book by Peter Gray called Free to Learn that has a lot of the basic ideas that I've talked about. Many other excellent books. John Taylor Gatto, Jonathan Kazal, John Holt, lots of others are out there. Check out Alternative Education Resource Organization, ARROW, and the Alliance for Self-Directed Education. Excellent organizations. So hopefully once the social distancing thing is over, no longer necessary, we can work to make schools a place where the 3 conditions of natural learning can exist. So stay well, be safe, and don't worry, it'll be okay. School will be okay.